The code is immutable. The money is decentralized.
The genesis locked to the edge of the mempool. We are decoding Bitcoin's signal in the noise. Privacy, self-custody, censorship resistance. Welcome to the revolution. This is On-Chain Revolution.
Welcome to On-Chain Revolution. My name is Yago B, and I am the host of this channel and show. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to my TikTok audience, to my abstract audience as well. Shout out to you guys, Zora, Rumble, and of course, my beautiful, beautiful YouTube and X audiences as well. And guess what? StreamYard fixed that error, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. But we got a lot to get into today, guys. Is Wall Street stealing Bitcoin and crypto from retail? That is the question. A lot of stuff came out about Jane Street yesterday. Big fiasco. And then we're seeing ZachXBT working overtime as well, just coming out with all these investigations and all that stuff, right? So we are probably getting overtaken by Wall Street, and it started with the ETF, right? But we're going to get into that, and we'll see what we can kind of come up with together, right, in terms of that thought process, because it's not the first time that Wall Street has controlled a price of an asset after an ETF went live. We saw it happen with gold in the early 2000s, right? So we'll dive into that. We're also going to hit on some news. News kind of came in a little bit late today, but some semi-interesting stuff. Obviously, the Jane Street fiasco, we'll get into that. Their connections with Luna, and then maybe what could be happening with Bitcoin suppression. After that happened, ETF Flows started shooting up very aggressively. Isn't that a little bit suspicious, right? Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. They are being very suspicious, because after this Jane Street situation happened, these ETFs started popping up, right? It also could be kind of fading or getting started for like a spring energy type situation there. Of course, we'll hit on the price action and bubbles, and then we'll get down a bit into some stuff with like Anthropic and AI. And guess what? You might not be as anonymous as you think you are in crypto. We'll hit on that. MetaMask joining the group of these entities that are going to just continually get rich as they created their own MasterCard, which is going to launch very soon. We'll hit on some Bitcoin ecosystem stuff. We're going to get into a new protocol that's coming out called ACME protocol. Tries to consolidate all of the data storage areas in Bitcoin. We'll get into that. And then Starknet has some news as well, as they have been trying to scale Bitcoin for a minute there. But continue to put your comments and questions in each chat of each platform, because I am a command center over here, guys. That is what I do. I just command center the entire show. And TikTok, I promise I'm going to do better with you guys. I'm going to do my best as I can, right, for one person here. But we got some comments in the chat already. GM from Superfan here. We got One Arm Bandit 9045 says, "What's up, Yagobi? What is up?" Bandit says, "Appreciate you, my dude. Appreciate you, sir." And then Rick G says, "GM, long live On-Chain Revolution." Thank you, sir. Thank you. But let's hit the show, the start of the show, like we do every single day, with the market pulse and see what's happening. How does the markets feel about all this stuff that is happening with potential Wall Street taking over? But we will start off with the economic calendar and see what happened today. Okay. So we got initial jobless claims came in at 212,000. So slightly, just a tiny teensy beansy bit under the expected amount of 215,000. Right. Previous was 208 though. So we did increase that a little bit, right? So they expected it, obviously, because they had that $215,000 jobless claims projection there. Nothing else on the docket today. Tomorrow we will have core PPI though. So that is something from January, PPI year over year as well. So that is going to be interesting. See how that plays into some stuff here. But let's take a look at the markets and see how the financial markets are responding to all the shenanigans and stuff that is happening right now. All right. So The S&P is down 0.72 to start off the day. We got the NASDAQ down 1.4%. We got Dow Jones up 0.12%. The VIX is up, and it is up 8% here. Okay, so that means volatility is kicking in a bit. Dixie is up 0.17%. We got the Russell up 0.23%. So risk on looking a little bit more energetic than the rest of the index funds here. And then you got the Mag 7 down 1.22%. NVIDIA up 4.2%, or down 4.2%, sorry. Google down 2.41%. Apple down 0.9%. You got Tesla down 1.7%. Netflix up 1.27% there. Futures are mixed here. Oil up 1.56%. Silver down 2.22%. Let's take a look at crypto. Crypto is Bitcoin's down 1.11%. Not horrible, but definitely a pullback from yesterday, that's for sure. And then we got Ethereum pulling back 1.44%. Precious metals, gold still looking pretty strong, up 0.26%, sitting at 51.78. So gold is a beast still. I mean, it's been a beast all last year heading into this year, right? And then we got silver pulled back 0.23%. So silver is the meme coin of precious metal, sitting at $87 right now. So all in all, right, markets kind of pulling back after having a couple days of strength, right? For sure, we see that with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin got all the way almost to, I want to say 70, right? It seemed like that. It got right to it right there, and it pulled back. Right now, we're back to 70 or 67,000 and hanging around this mid section between the 100 and 200 day moving average on the weekly chart, right? So that's kind of where all the financial markets are, kind of how they're responding to all this stuff. Now let's get into the main topic of the day. That is, did Wall Street steal Bitcoin from retail? Did Wall Street steal Bitcoin from retail? Did Wall Street steal Bitcoin from retail? Well, one thing we do know is that Wall Street manipulates their own markets, especially the huge players, several times, and they get a large significant fee that they don't care to pay. I mean, they pay it, but they don't care that they have to pay it. So what it means is they are okay with manipulating because they might feel like over the long run they're going to make more money doing that while still having to pay off their fees, right? Or their fines and stuff like that. Now, with that being said, we're going to get deeper into this, and we're going to start with like Jane Street and what the allegations are and stuff like that. But also, there's an article by somebody we're going to dive into that says Jane Street might not be the main focus of what you guys think the biggest problem is, and that's more of price control of Bitcoin with these institutions, right? But before we get into that, guys, help me out on all the platforms too. I didn't say this. It does help me though if you smash that like for me, and if you like me and my content and stuff like that, subscribing helps too. So if you could do that, that would be great. All right, got a couple more comments in here. Grasshopper says what's up, and then Bandit says what's up, Grasshopper. Okay, you guys are kind of talking there. Okay, cool. All right, let's get back into this topic here. All right, so what happened, first of all, with Jane Street? Okay. I think that is the first thing that we need to get into, right? So first of all, there was a lawsuit that was filed, right, in the U.S. Federal Court, Manhattan, accusing Jane Street of insider trading plus fraud plus market manipulation, okay, tied to Terra Luna, the 2022 Black Swan that kicked it all off, right? And basically what the allegations are, someone that was working within Jane Street had a Telegram group and just was going through all these movements that were projected to be with Terra Luna and UST, and that allowed Jane Street to get ahead of it and actually profit a ton. And supposedly it goes a little bit deeper because they're saying that they were a part of potentially that situation. So the complaint was filed by Terraform's court-appointed wind down plan administrator. This is post-bankruptcy cleanup. So the core allegation was that Jane Street allegedly received material non-public info. So that goes kind of back to that Telegram situation, right? and traded ahead of key liquidity events, sorry, profiting a UST pegged and the system unraveled, right? So that's kind of where this is all starting, right? And the reason why recently Bitcoin got dragged into this, because you know who got involved with this was crypto Twitter, right? Crypto Twitter was saying, okay, these guys, if they're doing that, then they have to have something to do with manipulation with Bitcoin, right? So basically what they did was they took the lawsuit and combined it with a viral chart narrative, right? The 10 a.m. Eastern time slam. So supposedly, which I need to go look back, but almost every workday, weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern, BTC was slammed. It was sold down. A lot of sell pressure, right? And then what is kind of interesting is the past couple of days it hasn't happened, right? So this could have some legs here, but what hasn't been proven is that Jane Street does manipulate Bitcoin. So that hasn't been backed by any substantial facts except for the kind of suspicion of the 10 a.m. Eastern slamming of Bitcoin to the downside, right? So basically why people are kind of pointing at them and like trying to connect the dots here is because Jane Street is a major market maker and liquidity provider, right? And so it behooves them to be able to kind of control Bitcoin's price, right? So that's kind of where we are with Jane Street. Now, get some water here. All right. So there is a article that I'm going to quickly jump into here. I'll make sure I got it. Oh, here it is. It throws me off because it's a Trading View article. And so I always think it's my Trading View chart. All right. So it says, is Jane Street why Bitcoin isn't at 150K? Expert debunks the myth, right? So this person that's writing this article is saying that's not why. That's not the only, that, you know, there could be something tied to it. But it goes on to say the idea that Jane Street is single-handedly the reason why Bitcoin is not trading at 150,000 is the wrong frame, according to ProCap CIO and Bitwise advisor Jeff Park. In a X thread, February 25th, Park argued that the real issue is not one firm, but a structural feature of the US spot Bitcoin ETF system. I think we all knew that paper trading Bitcoin was going to eventually be an issue. Well, let's go on here. It says, but a structural feature of the US spot Bitcoin ETF system that gives all authorized participants unusual flexibility in how they hedge and settle trades. Is Jane Street suppressing Bitcoin? Park's core point is that the market has turned a question about Jane Street into a question about the ETF plumbing itself. On iBit alone, he noted the authorized participant roster, now listen to this roster, includes Jane Street Capital. Okay, we already know they're probably involved with some shady stuff. JP Morgan, which go look at the fees that they've been charged, the fines that they've been charged in the past. Okay. Marquerie, Virtue Americas, Goldman Sachs, Citadel Securities, wing. That should set off some alarm bells there. Citigroup, UBS, and ABN AMRO. And his telling that matters because APs are not ordinary short sellers. The question deserves a precise answer, and the most important thing to understand up front is that it is not really a question about Jane Street, Park wrote. It's a question about a structural feature of the Bitcoin ETF architecture that applies equally to every authorized participant in the ecosystem. He added that the role of these institutions is genuinely misunderstood, even amongst seasoned industry veterans. Okay. So, I mean, look, I don't trust any of those names that we went over. If you go back to the GameStop days, right? Then you see, you remember what happened there. Citadel Securities was a market maker and a paying partner to Robinhood. This is my understanding. I could be wrong if I am. Put in the chat. Conflict of interest already. Then Robinhood pauses trading, right, for GameStop. Dark pools. We don't know what's happening. All of a sudden, you know, the price is no longer being pushed down by retail public. They're here. They are here in our space, and it's probably easier initially, well, I'm not sure, nevertheless, these people are the ones that have like a lot of power in our space. So my stance, Bitcoin's price is going to be, that doesn't mean it doesn't go up. Look at gold. Gold is thriving right now, but were there moments when gold probably was suppressed and it could have like gone up even higher? I genuinely believe that that's probably happened many, many times, right? But now they do get to kind of release the Kraken, I guess you could say, at different times. Now, what can you do about it? Nothing. Retail can't do anything about this. I mean, what you can do is just try to get smarter and smarter where you can thrive in the space, and that's how our space is becoming. It's becoming, unfortunately, like TradFi, but there is a lot of people that do extremely well there, and because we have the knowledge of Web3 and crypto, we have an advantage of being able to spot those opportunities and where it might be less manipulated by these giants, right? And then also there's so many new innovations as well in parts of the space that, this is going to be ever changing. So you just got to spot it quickly, take advantage, and, see if that is something sustainable. If not, then there'll be another opportunity as well. So that's where I sit on this whole Jane Street and Wall Street fiasco. Yes, did they steal Bitcoin from retail? They stole the control of the price of Bitcoin from retail. But there's some, people firing back. The Trump media is kind of pushing back, against Jane Street as well. I think there's another entity. So, you can scare them for a bit. There's going to be another giant that probably comes out, though, and tries to repeat this, because to them, it's worth it, like I said. All right, let's get into the next headline here. Where is that? There it is. All right, so with Bitcoin kind of being froggy this week, when it's kind of back down from being froggy, right? We're down about $2,000, I would say, from yesterday, maybe a little bit less. But will this be the week that we break the trend, right? I think that this could be, we are on the 6th week in a row of red negative returns for Bitcoin, right? This was actually green earlier today. And for the TikTok audience, if you want to look at my screen and stuff, you can hop over to YouTube and go to OnChain Revolution. I'm going to get the TikTok situation situated as soon as I am able to add it to StreamYard. But anyways, so going back here to the 6th week in a row, right? Down 0.48% Bitcoin is on this week, but we are closing in towards the end of the week. So if there was ever a chance for us to kind of reverse a bit, it would be now, right? Or heading into a Sunday situation. Now, I think we're going to find out very quickly if this was just a fake out type situation yesterday after the State of the Union address. And people just got really happy about that type of situation. And it, continually goes down. The one thing I always mention is this weekly chart for Bitcoin being close to that 200 moving average, right? I mean, it does go back and forth up in the past, right? Bear markets, right? I mean, you see it here. Where is it? Right here, right? Happened in 2018's bear market. Up, down, up, down, up, down, and then finally decided to take back the 50-day moving average and the 100-day moving average. Well, I mean, we're just kind of getting started in the sideways action here. Oh, sorry. There you go. We're just getting started with the sideways action here before we decide to retake the 50-day before it jumps down. So I think we still have a ways to go, but who knows? Maybe we get extremely bullish and we pop out of the break that $70,000 barrier and kind of work our way into like an aggressive March and spring time. We will get some sort of energy in the spring, whether it's beginning of March, in middle, and we'll get some sort of push up. We always do every single year, pretty much. All right. Do we get it this week though? Do we flip back green? We're gonna find out on Sunday, right? Best chance that we've had though in this run. But again, this would be week number 6 of consecutive. It's only happened 3 times since 2014. And the last time happened in 2022, and it went 9 consecutive weeks of negative returns. So we'll see how long this lasts for here. Dr. Mian says GM, Dr. Mian. One Arm Bandit says last time Bitcoin had 5 straight months red, it followed with 5 straight green months. Hey, let's go to the monthly real quick. Yeah, so 5, we are definitely working on 5 straight months. February is sitting at negative 13.46%. Unless we get a good push back into probably like the mid 70s to end the month, which that gives us about what, 2 days? Yeah. Probably not. We're gonna end this month, but again, your point there is it followed up with 5, right? So you go back to 2018, and I think this is your point here, Bandit, is you had August, September, October, November, December in 2018, all red, and January, so 6. But then that followed up with February, March, April, May, and June having 5 healthy green months. I mean, if you look at the first month, it was not horrible. It bounced up 11%. Second month was a little weak, bounced up 7%. But then you get into some hefty, and this is spring, right? So 34% gain in April, 52% gain in May, and then 26% gain in June. So, I mean, that would be good. That would be good, to kind of get the morale back up as well, and head into the summer that way. Maybe kind of get a couple down summer months leading into maybe a strong Q4. Who knows, right? Who knows where it will head? But good point there, definitely. He also says, get it, send it, pump it. Yes, we all want to pump it. And then Superfan says, Crucible Capital is a VC I consider really smart. They agree with you about Wall Street. Wall Street's whole plan is to extract value from BTC, reported on their Substack. Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, it's pretty obvious, right? Like that they are here to extract. And that doesn't mean that like Bitcoin won't, have strong years and stuff like that. It's like gold. I mean, they've made tons of money off of gold's ETF. I'm very, very sure of it. But all right, let's check what we got here. All right, let's get into all right, this last story here before we get into the price action for the day to kind of see. So we had, this Jane Street situation happening, and probably these institutions saying, whoa, we need to, back off a bit. They're probably doing some investigation stuff and all this stuff. They don't want to be, under a microscope. But Cointelegraph comes in and says ETF flows, BTC ETH SOL and XRP spot ETFs saw net inflows of BTC 506 million yesterday. So huge. That's a big increase. And then ETH 157 million. And then you have Solana at 31 million and XRP at 3.09. So XRP is always the smallest, right? But these are getting bigger. So they've gotten bigger 2 days in a row. I wonder how today's inflows will look, right? So we'll see those numbers tomorrow. That is faux show. Okay. Goodness, my screen is again. I didn't share that. All right, real quick here. BTC 506, ETH 157, and Solana 30.9 with XRP at 309 here. But this is Bitcoin's ETFs post highest net inflows, right? In 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. So definitely I'll try to fix this here. All right. Attracting more than 506 million, right? And it says US spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds reported their highest single day net inflows in 3 weeks, signaling a tentative recovery in investors' sentiment. According to data from Soso Value, spot Bitcoin ETFs posted 506.5 million in net inflows on Wednesday, led by 297 million into BlackRock's IBIT. 6 other funds, including those from Fidelity and Grayscale, saw net inflows. There were no net outflows from any ETFs for the day. So seems like, the behavior is changing a bit for these ETFs, right? Starting to have consecutive inflows. I think it's more of like a spring type situation, right? Where, like I said, every year Bitcoin seems to Bitcoin and the alts seem to have some sort of energy going into the springtime. And that's what I think we're seeing. So I'm being careful with that, because for me, I want to make sure that I continually focus on having the stable on the sidelines. I'm not, you guys do what you do, but for me, like when it fluctuates back and forth, price doesn't matter at this point until we recapture that 50-day moving average. When we recapture that 50-day moving average on the weekly chart, when Bitcoin recaptures that, to me, that's okay. We are starting that move up. Right. And it's not going to be overnight, even in a week or anything, but we are moving from, kind of that bottom area sideways to, okay, we're done kind of being at that bottom area. And I'm not saying that this is the bottom or 60 was the bottom. Black Swan could take us to 38,000, 40,000. That's realistically a possibility. But whenever we do recapture that 50-day moving average, as you can see right here, every single time, right? I mean, look at this 50-day coming out of the bear market, recaptured. What happened? Boom, 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 boom. We recaptured the 100-day. So the 50-day drops first, then the 100-day we recaptured, and then we don't go back below it until the bull market's over. It happens every single time, every single time. So, I mean, right here again, bear market in 2018-19, 50-day drops. Bitcoin recaptures it on the weekly chart, recaptures the 100-day, boom, 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 boom. This situation right here is COVID. So that's the only, we can go back to 2014 actually to show you that it is a trend that happens every single time. But COVID is an anomaly. So that one, I don't count that situation because it literally crashed every single market. But again, captured the 50-day, 100-day, and then bull market. But right here as well. If you go into the bear market of 2014, what happened here? We go down, 50-day moving average comes down sharply. We recapture that. We recapture the 100-day. We don't go back below it until the bull market is done. So that is my signal, guys. I'm waiting for that because other than that, I'm just kind of trying to acquire Bitcoin at lower prices. That's my mentality with it. All right. Hopefully that cleared kind of the point I was trying to make here. Got some more comments in the chat. We got Joko. What is up? Joko for crypto. PeersNet says GM or GM ordinals keep showing signs of life. Yes, they do. The Bitcoin ecosystem is slept on because it's not flashy at the moment in those things, and Solana did take the spotlight away in 2024, but consistently I see builders consistently building. There's, it's evolving, even if it might be at a little bit slower rate than we'd like. It's continually evolving. And there's a lot of stuff. I talked to a team called ACME that is building across all 3 different data storage areas in Bitcoin to where you can store your art and all that stuff. There's stuff that's building with BRC20 to scale it and all that type of stuff. So really exciting there. And then we got OCM. It says rise, slogan of the OCM, on-chain monkey fan. Yes, I love on-chain monkeys community. Danny is awesome. Amanda, really awesome. Had her on the show a long time ago as well. But then rise, that is the on-chain monkey community actionable word, right? Rise, everybody rises together in that community. Love the camaraderie there as well. All right, let's get into some price action. And for Bitcoin and Ethereum, we'll hit on this and try to get some idea of where it might be heading for today, heading into the weekend. And then we'll hit on some alts with the crypto bubbles. And if there's any tokens that you want me to check for you guys, just let me know. But we are going to go into this price action right now, starting with the Bitcoin price action on the hour chart. You can see here that the MACD is still showing that sell pressure. It hasn't given up yet. It's still dark red with the MACD candles here. The fast line is still kind of like pointing a little bit down, right? So for me, I don't feel like this is broken down yet, right? So be very careful here. You see the stochastics also down in oversold territory, but it's not like coming out yet. It's still pretty low. We're sitting at 1.3. It just dropped even lower on the stochastic RSI score. And so I feel like the momentum indicators are telling me we ain't ready to go up on the hour chart. So next 2 to 4 hours, I would say probably sideways with maybe a little bit of downtrend still, right? We're sitting at 67,400, but you know, this candle is very weak. It looked like it wanted to be a, you know, a green candle to try to reverse maybe some momentum for Bitcoin, but it's starting to break down the candle itself. And we might flip red here. We got 30 minutes left on this candle. So I don't feel very great about Bitcoin coming out of this. So that's where I'm at for the hour chart for Bitcoin. Next 2-4 hours sideways with a little bit of down. That's what I'm seeing at this high level of, you know, TA. It's not super in depth, but I like using kind of these two indicators to get a feel, right? Because then we use the other time frames as well. Going into the 4 hour here, you see that buy pressure is breaking down on the 4 hour. So what does that tell me? The 1 hour is giving us a little signal here, I think, that maybe we do dive a little bit deeper, right? So you're starting to see the fast line on the 4 hour come out of this buy pressure session. Is starting to want to go downwards. Same thing with stochastic RSI coming out of the overbought territory. It's officially out of it. It wants to kind of head, it looks like, towards the center, the middle of the stochastics here. So not looking good in terms of Bitcoin if you are a bull. Bear kind of looking decent, not super aggressive to the downside, but more down for sure is what these indicators are telling me than up. So we're not ready to come out of today's pullback, right? All right, the daily candle here, we're seeing a red candle to start the day after a pretty strong green candle yesterday, after all that, you know, momentum carried over from the, I guess, from the State of the Union. I guess people got bullish on that. I'm not sure why, but people did. And then you see the stochastics as well, kind of stuck in that middle. You know, the daily chart, it's a little tough because we got to see, you know, some more hours of where is it gonna continually, you know, push up this momentum that we're seeing, or we're gonna have more of a breakdown sideways. You know, the shorter time frames are telling me this will probably start to flatten a little bit. But as of right now, if I'm just looking straight at it, you know, it's showing bullish momentum. You know, on the daily chart still. But again, let's see what happens in the next 6 to 8 hours, because this could flatten out a little bit. And that's what I'm thinking might happen heading into tomorrow. All right, let's take a quick look at Ethereum. All right, Ethereum on the hour chart, broken down just like Bitcoin. It's actually broken down a little bit more aggressive than Bitcoin on the hour. So we're sitting at 2030. We might head to 2000, maybe below that a little bit if this like sideways with downtrend continues. But that's what I'm seeing with ETH on the hour. The 4 hour, similar situation. I mean, it's following Bitcoin pretty much to a T. It will have a little bit more of an aggressive push or a weaker push depending on, you know, what's happening at that time. But it is following Bitcoin. You know, either way. It might be a little bit delayed or a little bit ahead of it. All right. And then the daily, same situation as well for ETH. So that's what I got for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look at the crypto bubbles. Probably all red because yesterday was all green, and that's what I'm seeing. All red. You do have power continually showing power. 87.9% up. Be careful with these though, because that's a huge jump up, right? You don't want to buy into that FOMO and end up getting wrecked there, but that's just me. It is up 87.9%. You got Pippin pushing up 20.4% today. Pippin is continually going up, and wow, we are at $870 million market cap for Pippin. Okay, so looks like they want to head to 1 billion. This is crazy. So I mean, I don't know. Look, it's an AI meme coin on Solana. There's speculation that there's ties to like laundering from like the cartels into it, but hey, they must have a lot of money, right? Because they're pumping it up lately. I'm being careful with this because I've seen it jump from 600 million to 400 million in a day. But if you've been in it the past, I don't know, 2 days, you're up pretty significantly. So I don't know. Good luck to you guys if you guys are in Pippin. All right. Outside of that, we got Stable up 11.5. You got CC, which is Canton, up 7.3%. JST up 9%. DCR up 9.6%. Some of the notables that got punched in the gut pulling back. You got Atom down 11.3%. So not too bad yet. And then Pepe down 9.7%. No one really talks about Pepe anymore, but they're in the top 100. What else do we have here that is sticking out here? Bonk pulling back 4.2%, Pump pulling back 5.5%, Chainlink down 3.3%, Litecoin down 4.6%. You got Shiba Inu down 5.1%. Story Protocol down 4.5%, AVAX down 4.1%. Majority of these big names, these kind of blue chipish big names like Pengu, Arbitrum, Aave, they're down around 4 to 6% on average. Yeah, so nothing's really sticking out in terms of huge decline just yet. But that's the top 100. And let me see if you guys have any tokens you want me to take a look at. Stan says, any updates on the Clarity Act? Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I do know it got postponed again. And then Bandit says, Bitcoin, Bob, Sky, Air. Okay, let's take a look at Bob. Bob Baran. All right, let's take a look. Build on Bitcoin. I think this is the one you're talking about, Bandit. On the day, it's down 1.8%. And you got, for the week, it's up 10.5%. And is ranked 723. Market cap is 13 million. Let me know if you're talking about that one or another one. But it is a layer 2. Believe it uses the EVM tech stack. If anybody's interested in Bob, build on Bitcoin, it kind of came out whenever like the layer 2 meta was hot in early 2024. But yeah, so that is where Bob is. And you said Sky. Let's take a look at Sky. Sky. So Sky, I'm guessing you're thinking of, is this Maker DAO? Did they rebrand to Sky? It says previously Maker. It's ranked number 43. It's sitting at 1.59 billion market cap. But you might be talking about the AI one here, I think. Is that what you're talking about? There's a Sky AI that is sitting at 385, ranked 385. Okay. Yeah. So Sky AI here up 5% on the day. Week is up 21%. Look, the AI tokens and Meta, best opportunity they've ever had in their entire existence has been this quarter. Hands down. You couldn't have asked for a better quarter for if you're an AI project, you know? Okay, previously Maker. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so anyways, but the AI situation, yeah. So, but yeah, Maker now it's up 40 to rank number 43, 1.5, and then on the day flat. The week it's up 9.6% though. So pretty cool there. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody else's stuff here that requested it. And if you're on Abstract or even on a TikTok and you want me to check a token, let me know. Just drop it in the chat and I'll take a look. Same thing with Zora. Sorry, Zora, I'm covering up your chat over here. Okay, cool. All right, Stan says Polkadot. Also, Stan, on the Clarity Act, I think they're going to get that. Like this administration, it just really benefits them a ton to get it done. I mean, this administration, I mean, I like the Trump media, I guess. Anyways, let's take a look here. So you got on the day, Polkadot up 2.9%. Hey, if I'm Polkadot, I take the win. You know, it's been not really mentioned too much in headlines and all that stuff. Up 21.6% on the week as well. So good rebound for Polkadot, that is for sure. Ranked number 33, up 2 spots. That's good. Sitting at $2.5 billion market cap there. And then I want to hit on myself. What is up, myself? Back to the show. Thank you for jumping back in. He says, why do Bitcoin maxis hate the Bitcoin ecosystem? My theory is they are afraid that it's, you know, these assets that get created, if there's any strong momentum. So two theories. Any strong momentum, they compete with Bitcoin. But I think that theory is stupid because we've seen Ethereum go through that and other layer 1 blockchains. Nothing overcomes the main blockchain token. But maybe they say, you know, liquidity will be siphoned away or something. The second thing is what they always mention is they don't want there to be this overwhelming power that they can't stop, that continually builds and scales and upgrades Bitcoin, like we are seeing with Ethereum. And I think that part is true in terms of the fact that that is happening with Ethereum. You know, ETH did say that they wanted to you know, use a layer 2 kind of way of scaling and stuff. They went pretty hardcore back into scaling layer 1. Now they say that because then they don't want there to be some sort of potential exploits. I think that's a little bit just them being paranoid on that part. But in terms of scaling Bitcoin and building on top of it, I mean, I'm for it, but like I think if Bitcoin ever was compromised, I think it's game over, right? Yeah, they are afraid for sure. For sure. They are afraid. Yep. One Arm says, subscribe and like and share. Let's all learn together. Yes, absolutely. Appreciate the support there, man. And on X, let's share the space. If you're listening from X, share the space. That helps me a lot because I had to rebrand and you know, use a new X account. So if you're listening as well, follow me on X at OnChain Rev and at YagoBeverse. That helps a lot. Thank you guys so much. And then last thing here says maybe block space is what's most important. Keep spamming inscriptions. Absolutely. I'm all for spamming inscriptions. And Maxie's probably hate me, that's for sure. Because I love the art. I love the camaraderie. That's true community. The people that have stuck there, you know, and stayed with the Bitcoin ecosystem that didn't move on when something else was flashy and all these things. And I, you know, it's more of a community to me than the maxis, because I feel like the maximalists are really only focused on what their Bitcoin bag is really, you know, what can compromise it. I get, like, logically and fundamentally, you want to protect Bitcoin because it is the mother chain, right? If it goes down, like I said, there's something. The whole industry won't anymore, I don't think, because there's so much adoption happening, but it would just be such a bad day. But I don't think that happens. I don't think that happens. One last comment from Stan says, if BTC is killed, is the channel saying crypto space is dead? No, I think it would be a very huge, like, bad situation. But as time goes on, and there's more and more millions and billions and eventually trillions of TVL that gets tokenized, no, because they're not going to just there will be an industry still, but better not let it happen, right? I think that is the biggest thing. And there's so many different, like, the way that ordinals work right now is not an issue. They're just trying to, they're like that old man that, like, just wants to poke things just to feel alive, I guess. I don't know. All right, let's get back to some news topics here. What else we got? So this is something that I saw, and we'll see if it has an effect maybe to kind of propel Bitcoin into the spring fling, I guess you could say, or spring energy. Spring fling was probably not the right phrase there. Anyways, this article is written by Cointelegraph, and it says Bitcoin's upcoming 10.5 billion options expiry may end bear market. Here's how. Key takeaways: Bitcoin bulls need a 9% rally from current levels to take the advantage in Friday's 10.5 billion options expiry. Right? So 9%, and this was written. When was this written? This was earlier this morning, so not too long ago, right? So needs to rally 9%. Now it's going in the other direction since this. And it says the 90% correlation between Bitcoin and the NASDAQ 100 index shows that tech investor sentiment drives market confidence. Bitcoin price surged to an 8-day high on Wednesday, successfully forming a double bottom near 62,500 level. Despite these recent gains, Bitcoin price remained 21% lower than what it was a month ago, suggesting bulls are unlikely to come out ahead during Friday's 10.5 billion monthly BTC options expiry. Whether bulls can flip the tables at the last minute and shift momentum back in their favor remains up in the air. Deribit remains the dominant leader with a 76% market share, totaling 4.5 billion in call buy options and 3.4 billion in sell put instruments. OKX follows in second with 610 million in calls and 385 million in puts, representing 10% of the aggregate total. CME rounded out the top three with 255 million in calls and 287 million in puts, accounting for a 5% market share. Put options are better positioned despite having less open interest. At first glance, the aggregate put options open interest appears 25% lower than equivalent call options. However, a more granular view reveals that neutral to bullish strategies were caught off guard by Bitcoin's sharp decline below 75,000 in early February. 88% of call options on Deribit will expire worthless if Bitcoin's price remains below 70,000 on Friday. So that's a big number, right? 88% will lose their money in their call options if Bitcoin does not get to 70,000 tomorrow. Right. And for today, it doesn't look great. Right. You can see the calls kind of starting to decline because people are probably not too bullish right now. Right. So, but hey, look, today is kind of a pullback. So we'll see how later today plays out. Right. Because sometimes you'll get the pendulum swinging kind of back and forth, and maybe we get some of that. And there's some whales that want to push this up because of the situation. We're going to find out, though. I think by late today, heading into the morning U.S. time, where this is really going to be heading here. But that is something that could really start. It could spark a rally if they cover that. If they cover the calls, right? If we get above 70,000 tomorrow, it could spark a rally heading into the beginning of March. That spring energy I was talking about. We'll see what happens. Comment from Superfan says, from this dev's POV, spamming inscriptions can actually be really efficient via recursion and child inscription. So those are grumpy old complainers, in my opinion. Yes, they are. Very grumpy and very old complainers, most of them. All right. So hoping that kind of happens, right? Tomorrow we get to 70K. That would be good. All right, I'm gonna hit on a couple more stories, and I'm gonna jump into the Bitcoin ecosystem because, like I said, there's some interesting stuff happening there. All right, so bullish Bitcoin spot demand is growing for the first time since late November, per Crypto Quant's head of research. So Crypto Quant, sure, he's a really smart, brilliant guy, but man, he got a lot wrong in 2024 and early 2025, I think, for Bitcoin's price. He was calling for it to dump back then, but again, everybody got stuff wrong. I got stuff wrong. Everybody got stuff wrong last year specifically, right? But anyways, this is a good sign, right? One of the things that doesn't get things wrong is actual data at that moment, and what we are looking at is data at that moment. And you are starting to see spot demand growing, right? So for me, this is like this perfect kind of spring setup for Bitcoin and the alt markets, right? Get a little bullish heading into March, spring, and April, maybe pull back in some of the summer months type of situation. I do think we get aggressive, though, at some point, maybe in October. A lot of the charts are pointing to October. Whenever I'm looking at the Bitcoin weekly, it points to like that same time frame from every bear market whenever it recaptures the 50-day and the 100-day, and it's above that, or it starts it's close where it starts that journey up where it's kind of no looking back. It's around October of this year. Right? So we'll see if that plays out. But you do get that bump in the spring, right? And that's where I think we're heading right now. All right. Indiana, a state that is trying to push for liberating people with their Bitcoin rights, right? So Indiana's HB 1042 passes both chambers and heads to the governor's signature. The bill protects Bitcoin's rights, bans discriminatory crypto taxes, and allows digital assets in state retirement plans. So this is another thing for infrastructure, right? Another state comes on board and is pushing Bitcoin freedoms, right? So, more and more of this stuff is going to be good for infrastructure and that kind of stuff. Arita TV says MKR exists alongside Sky. Okay, Maker alongside Sky. Holders were encouraged to trade, but it seems more aren't into it. Gotcha. Thank you for that update, Arita, which very, very caught up with the space and stuff. Appreciate your insight there. So it looks like Sky is another token on side of it, but MakerDAO strong, right? So anyways, back to the story here. So what state's going to be next? You know, how much more support are we going to get? I think it's going to continue on to the next state. This one is big. So when I started the show, I said you might not be as anonymous as you think you are in crypto because of what's happening, and it has to do with AI. So there's a new story here, and this is a new ETH Zurich-Anthropic paper claims automated LLM pipelines can unmask anonymous users. So people that are, you know, thriving on keeping themselves anonymous by, you know, trading anonymously and all these things, that might go out the window. And also, you know, I'm not for this, but like, it's like, when would you pull this out? Can you just pull this out whenever you want? I think there's got to be some sort of like rights situation with this, because if this is something that they can really like unmask anybody in all of crypto, then I think we have an issue. If they use it for someone that is going around murdering people and getting paid and all this, whatever, right? I think you got to kind of go through the standard protocol of privacy rights, which, by the way, I don't even know how much of that's being held to the standard anyway with our intelligence agencies, right? I think they don't have to follow those rules anyways. But it is a little unnerving that like the one thing that you could kind of be anonymous for, just, you know, payments and stuff like that might go out the window. I mean, that's AI and that's technology though for you guys, right? This is just a normal process of being able to, you know, evolve with technology. So expect that, and then also probably expect a lot more with Anthropic, and they're getting, it's weird, it's like the AI sector is getting into crypto not by way of crypto trying to pull AI into it. It's getting into it because it sees that is a space that it has a very high use case in. X402 payments, these type of things, I guess, right? And then also just automation and being an autonomous agent, right? So definitely interesting here. A couple more things before we get into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Aave crossed $1 trillion in all-time loans. That's absolutely crazy. $1 trillion. Now they've been around since 2017. So, but 1 trillion, congratulations to Aave for that accomplishment. I know they're going through a lot with their DAO and governance and all that stuff, dealing with all the headaches and stuff like that. But hey, that's a big accomplishment there. All right, now let's get into the last topic before Bitcoin ecosystem stuff. And this is very interesting because, let me make sure I got it though. I think it's this one. Okay. So if you are a trader on Solana and you've used Axiom and these type of things, or just a trader in Solana in general, this is kind of scary, but probably most people assume this anyways. So this is an update from strkBTC, which he's an on-chain sleuth, I should say, on-chain sleuth. He investigates, you know, hackers and all this stuff. But he says insider trading claims. Axiom Exchange says it's shocked and disappointed. Axiom put a post out. So for you guys that don't know what Axiom is, it's like a trading terminal. It's like, you know, pretty much like sniper wallets that is open to the public. Anybody can use them. But the statement came out and says, we are shocked and disappointed to hear that someone on our team abused internal customer support tools to look up user wallets. We have removed access to these tools and will continue to investigate and hold the offending parties responsible. This does not represent us as a team. We have always tried to put the user first. We'll share updates on our Twitter as we learn more. So, I mean, you know, getting all the insider information and all that stuff, just giving people an opportunity to already get ahead of the you know, average retail user that gets obliterated on Solana already. It's almost impossible to make any money there because you have to be in the cabal groups and all that stuff. So definitely disappointing. Also, like, it makes me not want to use Axiom. And I know that it's one employee and stuff like that, but and also like the trading on Solana has kind of started to die off anyways. You're not seeing very many people really do much on there anymore. So with that being said, one way they could kind of give back to their users, if Axiom's listening at all, is do a token airdrop to the people that used it. I think people will be happy about that. All right, now let's get back into the let's get into the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I was looking to see, the first story I got is about Starknet here. Okay. Starknet introduces strkBTC to bring private Bitcoin, which LLMs can make that non-private, I guess, anymore, and confidential DeFi transactions to its layer 2 network, right? So it says Starknet, an Ethereum layer 2 network developed by Starkware, is preparing to launch strkBTC. So a new wrapped BTC, basically, a new Bitcoin-based asset designed to enable shielded balances and confidential transfers while maintaining full composability across decentralized finance applications. The token will allow Bitcoin holders to interact with DeFi on Starknet while protecting transaction amounts and counterparties from public view, according to details shared by Starkware and the Starknet Foundation. Goes on to say the system issues strkBTC deterministically in response to verifiable Bitcoin deposits, avoiding discretionary control in the issuance process. Privacy protections operate at the protocol level rather than through custodians, wallets, or third-party applications, according to the team. Starknet said this structure supports confidentiality while preserving auditability and risk management compatibility. A lot of big words in this paragraph. And that strkBTC will also be eligible for Bitcoin staking on Starknet, allowing users to earn yield while shielding balances if they choose. So kind of, big deal here, I guess. A Bitcoin, a wrapped Bitcoin that enters the privacy area, part of making transactions on chain. I think myself would probably appreciate that. And I do think we'll always have an option. Hopefully the LLM AI thing has like restrictions to be able to do that to anybody. But this is kind of adding to that. So that's the first part. The second part is ACME protocol. I had the pleasure of jumping on a call with this team, and really cool guys, right? But I will say what they're building is trying to, consolidate all of these different assets that are in different meta protocols on Bitcoin. We have, so I'll kind of break it down by data storage locations. We have Op Return, which stores Bitcoin runes, right? So the fungible token like Doggo the Moon, stuff, $1 billion cat. It also stores counterparty, I believe, data. Okay. Then you have the witness storage area, which is ordinals, that kind of stuff, BRC20s. And then you have the UTXO set, right? Which is also where stamps and these non-prunable assets live. And what ACME protocol is trying to do, or is doing, is they're trying to consolidate all that, right? And it says a proven market, a broken infrastructure, Bitcoin art created hundreds of millions in value between 2023 and 2025. Very true. I was there. I was a witness. And it says, but every existing protocol depends on fragile off-chain indexers that can vanish overnight. So, I don't agree with all this just because some of them have taken some measures. For example, ICP has created a decentralized indexer for ordinals. So that, and it reads, ICP has their own Bitcoin node. So it constantly reads Bitcoin. So, and this is a canister, which is a smart contract. So that will live on forever. But it is true from the basic foundation, fundamental levels of all these meta protocols, they do use off-chain indexers. I mean, that's how you have to do it when you don't have computation on chain to the level of something like Ethereum, Solana, right? You can't create smart contracts to be able to kind of direct where these assets can be held and pools and all this stuff on chain. Bitcoin doesn't work that way. It wasn't created that way, right? But there are options to do it. And so what they're trying to do is the one that doesn't use off-chain indexers is the UTXO set. And that's why you do have stamps and stuff like that, say, well, doesn't matter if node runners don't want to, accept our transactions. We're in the UTXO set. And so we'll always remain there. I don't know. I got to dig deeper into that argument to see, but you can look here. This is actual evidence and proof that like 2023 to 2025 was amazing. I mean, look, so Counterparty was the original, I would say, meta protocol that had like a community of art, the rare Pepes and all that stuff. That's Counterparty. Love a lot. Some of their stuff is super rare. Right at their peak, they were a $500 million plus on-chain economy on Bitcoin. Ordinals, which is pretty crazy, from 2023 to 2020, probably now, their peak was $6 billion in on-chain economy. So the largest by far. And that's why I think Ordinals made such a big splash, was because there was so much liquidity coming over to it, right? Then you have Runes, which was 2 billion at one point. Stamps was 300 million at one point, and then Acme Protocol is trying to combine all of these areas and say, hey, it doesn't matter where you want to store your art, and they are going after the artist community, by the way. It doesn't matter where you want to store your art, you can do it all through Acme Protocol. If you need to be in the op return for sizing reasons or whatever it is, right? Witness data for whatever, you can do that through Acme Protocol. Now they won't be indexed like by those specific meta protocols like Ordinals and all these things, but they're going to have their own way of doing that on chain, is what they're saying. So we'll see. So this is something that's definitely showing me that there's still builders here in the space that are have passion to really continually move Bitcoin's ecosystem forward. But that is pretty much the show, guys. I do want to tell you guys about a space that I co-host here in, I would say, 2 hours from now. Yeah, 1 p.m. Central. It's called Buzz Bitcoin, and it is hosted by Ordinal Hive, at Ordinal Hive, if you can see on the screen, on X. And I co-host that space. I think we're going to have Big Noodle on there as well again today, so it should be fun. We're going to talk about AI stuff. We're going to talk about the space, and we just kick it and, have a good time there, right? So that's what it's all about in the bear market and in the bull market, is having community and really connecting with people and building your network, right? So that's really, really important in my opinion. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you guys could check out my website at onchainrevolution.io, you can go there and check out the articles about, I try to put up a daily market update type situation of the markets. Also, on my YouTube channel, I do have a membership program there. If you like to join or check it out, it's $10 a month, but I put out a video every week that goes into, either stuff that's happening in the space that I believe that's really starting to, needs attention, that's being overlooked, or educational. I try to bring value to every piece of content I create from here on out. And hopefully I'm doing that. And also, any recommendations that you guys have, just put them in the chat, man. I'm here to kind of kick it with y'all, but also learn. We want to learn together. I'll do the research. We learn together, right? So that's all I got. And until tomorrow, peace.